Okay, so this is a quick part 1 video. I'm just sketching in the outlines and the various features of this turtle, and what I'll be using is a mixture of graphite powder, some soft 4B and 3B pencils, a mechanical pencil and some erasers, just to add the block in the graphite and also add some texture. So I'm just blocking this in and blending it together using blending stumps. I will have a full real-time tutorial of this over on my Patreon, so it depends when you're watching this video, it may be there already. So I'm just going to start colouring in the eye using a darker 8B pencil, and now I'm bringing in some of the darker areas around the mouth, and I'm going to now do the background. Now I've moved the camera overhead, so it's a bit shaky I'm afraid, but I'm just blocking in the background. So this is the darker area with some graphite powder, and now we're coming back onto the front view, so the camera is now steady. I'm just starting to add in some of the detail, so I'm using a mixture now of, I'm going over it with the different pencils, just trying to block in these details. I will have a full video of this on YouTube, which will be a slightly slower video with a little bit more in-depth about it, but the full real-time video with all of the details you'll need, where you can draw along with me, it will be on my Patreon. I appreciate everybody who follows me and signs up and supports me on Patreon. It helps me do more of these free videos on YouTube, and obviously the full real-time videos you get on Patreon go into full depth with all the different tips, techniques, tricks and much more. So here you are, you can see now the head and the eye area is starting to develop, and you're starting to see a little bit of character to the turtle. I've added in a little bit of highlight here into the eye. So this video is just a quick tester of the type of thing you'll have, but obviously it will be a lot slower. So for the slowed down version, subscribe and keep an eye out, and then you won't miss it, and you also won't miss part 2 of this. So now we've done the darker areas, you can start to see the mouth developing, and the sort of character of the turtle is starting slowly to appear. Now I'm using a mixture of tools with this. A lot of graphite drawing is by putting the graphite down and then moving it around and erasing it. And once you get the hang of that, once you get that into your mindset, it becomes easier to draw. I'm going to just add a little bit darker, a little bit more darkness into this background. You can swap and change sometimes over, as if you're doing something that's quite an intense bit, having a break from that and doing another area is sometimes quite good. So I'm trying to get the background here to mix to match the reference picture, using a mixture of tools from my hands to tissue paper and blending stumps, and that is using graphite powder. I'm also looking now to do the rock area so that I've got some kind of grounding to go off, and it all helps develop the picture and gives you a better idea of perspective. So as you can see with these rocks, they're generally quite dark, and most of what you can see are highlighted areas. And I'm using a little bit of charcoal here to make it truly dark in those areas. And now I feel I can get back to doing this pattern in the turtle. I'm not sure what you would call these scales, but it's the skin of the turtle. And with these you're doing a mixture of things. You're adding, going in with the pencil, sort of a lighter 3B pencil, and then adding a 6B, and then when needed you can blend it in, and I'm using a Mars Lumograph Black 8B pencil just to add that darker area. And I'm using my mechanical pencil just to draw the finer details in between. And as we add the dark black pencil, you can start to see there's depth come into the face and the features, and it brings a little bit more realism to the whole picture. As I said, part 2 of this speed up video, will be on YouTube very shortly, so subscribe and follow just so that you don't miss it. And then I will put a full version, which will be a lot slower. Again, a sped up version, but slower. And just adding in the details around the edges. If you really want a full real-time video of this, it will be on my Patreon once I've done this, where you will be able to draw along with me in real time, and you'll have obviously more information, tips, tricks, and access to ask me questions where I'll be able to answer them and help you along. So again, I'm going on to the beak of this turtle, and now we can start to see that it's coming alive on the paper a little bit more. There's still a lot to do and a lot to go, so these types of drawings are not quick, they take some time. It depends how detailed you want them. And the skin of the neck and the shoulder area of this turtle and the chin is a little bit more complicated. I'm not matching every line to the reference picture, as that would be a much longer video. But what I'm doing is trying to get a good feel of what you see, and I'm just blending in just to add some texture to the skin, and I can go back in then afterwards adding in darker areas and using the eraser to add any highlights. I'll do this a couple of times until I'm happy with it, and I'm just going to do the start of this shell here. Although there's more detail to add to this, it just gives me some perspective to work from. And remember, always try and keep your hand off the paper. If you need to rest on a stick or a piece of greaseproof paper, that's always recommended, rather than resting your hand on the paper and leaving greasy areas where the graphite will stick to, and it will ruin your picture. Now I'm using brand new blending stumps here. Normally I would use some older ones. I prefer using older blending stumps because you can sort of almost draw with them once they get a good black sort of look to them. But these blending stumps won't take long before they're at that stage. So I'm doing the first flipper here. So I'm adding in the graphite and then taking away the graphite where needed. And most of what you will do when you're drawing in graphite and charcoal is add and then take away, and you're doing most of the drawing by actually removing the graphite. And just bringing in some finer lines and details until I'm happy with the look. Always trying to remember which way the light is coming and which way it is hitting the animal or the subject. And now we're starting to see the whole thing take shape. As you can imagine now, it's becoming a little bit more real. You're creating depth to the picture. Sometimes I'll add little bits like the bottom of the turtle's shell there, just to have a little bit of a break and give my hand a break from doing any sort of tedious lines. And there are a lot of lines on this turtle. But once you get into a rhythm, you sort of find your flow, and it tends to happen quite quickly. You get a little bit lost in what you're doing. And sometimes it's best to do a drawing like this is to take the break, and if you do a couple of hours and then you take a picture of it and go in of that on that evening, take a little look on your phone or whatever you have at your picture, and then take a little look at the reference picture, match them up, and then you'll be able to see if you're going wrong or what you might need to do to improve the look or feel. Sometimes it can be as little as adding a couple of lines or adding a little bit of shading. Now with the neck of this turtle it's a little bit tricky because it's got a couple of different highlights, but because of the texture of the skin I'm trying to get it right, but you will get there. I just need to keep going over it, and once I've done it, once you find your rhythm and the look, you'll get there. The thing is with drawing in pencil like this and different subjects, it's very difficult to say one technique fits all, as very often I will use a different technique in different areas. It's really up to you how you do that and how you feel and how you draw, but the main aim is to get the picture to look how you want and to feel happy with it yourself. Now I did forget to record the sponge underneath the turtle, which I will do a separate video just to quickly show you how that's done. But I've added a little bit more detail on the rocks just to give myself a break there. And now I'm going back to filling in these little circles and triangles. And adding in some shading again, just to give the sense of depth to the picture and shape to the neck. And very often what you'll do is you'll do the basic run over, or what I will do is basically do the picture and then carry on with the rest of the picture, and later on then I'll do a final go over. So I'll go back to the start of the drawing and go back over it, adding in any finer details and anything that I want to change. So I hope you enjoyed that little video, and I will have the second part of this video up soon, so please subscribe to see that. And again, depending on when you've watched this, I will have the full real-time video on Patreon also. So thank you very much for watching.